to Forza Motorsport 7, and we start off today with the Honda Civic, an icon of the hot hatch world, great for tuning, great for just general work. I mean, it's pretty much a universal car. And the Type R has been around since the late 1990s, and it continues on to this day, and recently we have gotten a new iteration of it in Forza. Just a surprise DLC in May gave us the 2018 Honda Civic for free, which was great. I've seen about 80% of the people love it just because it's a free car or because it's a Honda Civic, and 20% of them hate it because it's not a 720 or a Senna or whatever. I don't really care. And it can't be small, but it is certainly an odd edition, because we already had the 2016 Honda Civic, which is a pretty darn good car, staying to its roots of being a front-wheel drive car. So I was wondering, what's the point of it? Well, certainly from the looks perspective, it is a lot nicer. I think it looks a lot more aggressive than the 2016 Honda Civic. It kind of ditched that early 2000s, like, weird bubble shape in favor of a more aggressive, angular shape, while still having that Civic look. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Except for the rear. I don't know what their thought was involving the wing and the strangely shapen exhausts. It's kind of like they had a group of 10 different types of designers, and they all shove them into a room and say, "You are not allowed to leave until you all contribute something." And they made this. I mean, it's not a bad looking car, but just the back end, it just doesn't look right. Everything else is an absolutely fantastic machine, but the back end is, And then we get to the power and the weight. Just over 3,000 pounds, 245s on the front, 306 horsepower from a turbocharged engine. It is a nice car. It is a very nice car. But it has the same driveline as the 2016 model, and it has the same amount of power as the 2016 model. So, yeah, I don't really, on the papers and statistic-wise, this car really doesn't make a lot of sense. Which means the only thing we can possibly do to it is do some testing. And that means heading out to a racetrack to do some hot laps. And, well, I decided to go to Suzuka, the shorter circuit, because I wanted 130R because it's a fantastic corner. And I don't want one that was too long. I want to have a nice balance of straight lines and tight, twisty sections. And this worked pretty well. You can see here I have the 2016 Honda Civic, and you can see what I mean about the looks. It is quite rounder than the 2018. That is a scientifically technical term. Rounder is indeed a word in the English language. And it is a very good front-wheel drive car. It is a very good front-wheel drive car. It can still hold its own against the modern-day four-wheel drive cars of Ford and Mercedes. It's a great car. It's just kind of, it's a B-class car, and it's 523. Ignore the replay. The replay died on 130R for some reason. I don't know why, but everything else is fine. It's just that one section it hates a lot. But yeah, it was a good car to drive. It is a fair bit lower in PI than the modern-day Civic, the 2018. The 2018 is a 583, I believe, and this is a 523, so it's 60 PI down. Which means you would expect it to be a little bit lower on the PI scale. And the Civic Type R here, you can see the new one, it certainly handled the part. It was monumentally better around the corners. Very similar straight line speed and acceleration figures. I think it had slightly better gearing for this track. It was a bit nicer, as the track proceeds to not exist for a second. it was a nice car. Might have cut the corner a tad bit, but it didn't count the lap time, so I wasn't too fussed about it. Yeah, it was a very nice car to drive. The all Civics have been fantastic to drive. This one has raised the bar even further. I don't know how they've done it, but they've done it. And considering they have the same power and similar weights, but this one's much better handling, you would expect it to be significantly faster around the track. And you'd be right. Because it was 3.1 seconds faster around a track. That is some serious speed. There is slight differences in mile years. But in 2 years, from 2016 to 2018, they have improved 3 and a bit seconds. That is impressive. That is very impressive. But again, the camera, something about Suzuka, just the replay cameras just don't like it. But yeah, the Civic is a fantastic car. You can carry so much more corner speed. You can probably carry 8-9 miles an hour faster around 130R, which is pretty good for these cars. And again, when they have similar amounts of power, that makes such a big difference, because you can use that power so much easier. And one tire fire is still possible. They still have relatively open diffs, but it is not as bad as you would think for most front-wheel drive cars. So that goes for both of them. Both of them were pretty good at it. But yeah, that Civic is a very nice car, the 2018. It's probably the best front-wheel drive car I've driven so far. I've always said the Focus RS from 2009 has been my favorite front-wheel drive car. But this is really tempting me. This is really tempting me for becoming my new favorite front-wheel drive car, because it looks the part. It doesn't quite sound the part, but it is bloody fast. Absolutely fantastic around a track. And of course, the only way to test that out is to go racing with them. And this would be 12 cars from the 2016 model year and 12 cars from the 2018 model year. And it was a completely random grid, so it was as unbiased as I can be. And we were already going 3, almost 4 wide. And there were an awful lot of Civics fitting into an awful small space. I chose Catalunya for the simple reason of it has a nice balance. Similar to Suzuka, of course the replay actually works, which is good. But similar to Suzuka, it has a good mixture of straights. One guy might have gotten bumped off the track. It's fine. He wasn't too fussed about it, really. He may have fallen in the back of the pack, but doesn't really. He's not too fussed about it. And yeah, it has a good straightaway, has some good technical corners, has some switchbacks. It's a very good overall track for testing. And this blue Civic is going too wide with a newer model year, doesn't quite make the pass stick. Yeah, it was chaos. I say it was chaos on the opening lap. Things did get spread out a little bit quicker than I would hoped, but there was still some battling, there was still some racing going on. And it was interesting seeing these cars compete against one another. The older Honda Civics are a bit faster, I think, in a straight line, like longer years. One of them did send a cone to orbit, but yeah, it was relative chaos on the opening laps. As for me, well, I was in the white Honda Civic here, the 2018, and I'm going too wide with an older model. Managed to get him under brakes, and I almost get his twin. Yeah, I was surrounded by a lot of old Civics. I say old Civics, the older version. We are doing a little bit of touring car racing, but that's to be expected in these type of vehicles. I go brave on around the outside and the hairpin, and I just about make it work. Yeah, I was stuck in that opening melee with all this scraping and bumping. Might have got forced off the track a little bit by an AI. Yeah, my car was a little bit dinged up, but it was only visual. It was only visual. Yeah, I did actually go on the inside of me, but forced me wide a little bit, and he would just about get that position. We were having good fun racing in the back here. This is over about 7th or 8th place. And I do have to. I'm getting absolutely mugged by the white Honda Civic I spent so long trying to overtake. He does kind of force me on the track. I have to slightly bump him out of the way to make sure I actually have space on the track. Yeah, I don't know what the AI were thinking, but yeah. So we might have gone a little bit of touring car racing again, and I was back to chasing down a familiar friend in the form of the white Civic. A little bit slow through the chicane here. I go on the inside, but I get some wheel spin. Doesn't really matter because I have that acceleration from the better gear ratios. But then comes the longer gear ratios from the older Civic, and it just pulls away ever so slightly. It does have the marginally better straight line speed. Now I will address there may be some minor inconsistencies with the older Civics, like the AI cars, for the simple reason of the AI like to put power on vehicles to make them more fair. Now I've noticed that it works, but that it's more even. It doesn't do it to an extent if you score the buckets independently, which is what I did here. I think they may have had a slight power advantage anyway, the older Civics. If they might have put like 330 horsepower instead of the 306 from standard. So that may be why the straight line speed was a bit better in that Civic. But I'm doing the best I can. And the AIs are not the greatest on the corners. They're a little cowardly, so that does kind of even it out. But yeah, I try to do that. I try to minimize it as much as possible. You can only do so much. I try to fix it, but Forza just doesn't like having cars 60 PI separate from each other go racing. They're like, that's way too unfair. There's no way that could be a good battle. And they add a bunch of power, which is a bit unfortunate. But in the meantime, I was catching up to this older Honda Civic. Yeah, it was good fun racing. It was good fun racing in these cars. Again, taking a bit of a shallow line. Yeah, very, very, very good fun racing indeed. Further back in 12th place, we were seeing a battle between, well, the multicolored brigade. Up the wazoo. We have blue, black, red, white, combination of the two. Yeah, it was very colorful race, for sure. Yeah, we had two new Honda Civics racing against two older Honda Civics, and yeah, this black car we're following, it does try to go for the dive on the inside, doesn't quite work. The new one is a bit better under brakes, and he was putting it under increasing pressure. You can tell that these cars are very similar in handling, but the new one does have, again, a significant advantage over the older one. But lap times were relatively consistent. When you look at it. And it just started becoming a train of blue, red, and black cars. Eventually, the black car you're watching here does manage to get a little bit of a breakaway as the back two do begin fighting, and then he goes off after the other car, the other Civic, for the road. He uses that superior straight line speed, but his friend gets in the slipstream and begins to try and mug him, but he does lose steam, and the black car will get that little bit of an advantage overall as the red car tries to go for a dive on the blue car, but the blue car covers up the inside before any move can stick. And now we're starting to form a bit of a bit of a Honda train. And once again, the black car is safe from the onrushing pack behind and is stuck in a tad bit of no man's land. And our overall leader was absolutely flying up ahead. He started up fairly early on, got to the lead, and just kind of ran away as everyone else was fighting. He was some 6 or 7 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Yeah, we didn't have a hope of catching him. He was very, very far away. Yeah, it was interesting. You can see the gap. He has an entire straightaway ahead. It is quite a significant margin, indeed. As for me, in the 2018 Honda Civic, I was catching the leader, but I was running out of laps. I did a 5-lap race here, and you can see the leader up there. I was catching, but I wasn't quite fast enough. Me and the leader put a significant gap from the rest of the field. Third was almost battling with Force back there. I was catching him, but it wasn't enough for the final lap. It was close, but it just couldn't. I ran out of time. I was stuck in battles early on. It was good fun. It was very good fun. But we just wouldn't have the overall pace to match that leader there. So I would have to settle for second, and it would be very interesting finale, if you will, because the first place car would be a 2015, followed up by an 18, then another 15, then another 18, then another 15, then another 18. Kind of goes back and forth between 15, 18, 15, 18, 15, 18, 15, 18. And then we finally divvied up with 18, 18. And then, rounding out the 10th place position is a 2015 Civic. Sorry, 2016. Yeah. The game labels it as 2015. I don't know why, but it's 2016, I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind. I don't know. But, yeah. Either way, very balanced overall. 5 2018s and 5 2015s all made into the top 10, which is certainly an impressive showing given the severity that the 2015 model is down on PI. And we start off with a drag race. Now originally I did a best of 3, but for whatever reason, the 2016 Honda Civic decided that it was best to mess with his teammates and put him into a wall for the remainder of the race. I don't know why he wanted to turn left on the drag race, but yeah, that definitely deserved a retry. And then it went to a drag race between them, and it was very interesting. The first race we had the 2018s absolutely run away with it, as we head to a very, very close photo finish between the 2018 Civics, as we can hopefully see here. Between those three, it was very, very close on this first heat. That was very interesting. You can see it here. That is not much separating the three there. And it would be all modern Civics this time. Going to that guy claiming first. Then we have the other one. And then we have the third podium, less than 1/100th of a second further down the road. Then there's me in fourth, followed by another very close photo finish between these guys. Going pretty much in order of camera. Yeah, it was very close on the first round. And the second round was even more interesting, because the second round, instead of those guys taking dominant victory, it were these guys who took the top 4 spots. And then the third round, it was back to these guys locking out the top 4. And I don't know, it was very interesting. It was either everyone lost or everybody won. There was no in between. But the modern Honda Civics did indeed take more wins, which, scientifically speaking, means they are better at drag racing than their older counterparts, despite having the same amount of power and similar amounts of weight and similar drive lines. Yeah, certainly a very interesting result. Well, it seems like this vehicle is the jack of all trades. It's better than its predecessor in a straight line. It's as good, if not better, than its predecessor racing against it. It is better handling. It looks better. And still keeps its old tradition of being front-wheel drive. However, if you're building it for Forza, in aka a B-class race or an A-class race, which one would you have? If I was building a Honda Civic front-wheel drive to B-class, I would have 2016. Because since it's lower, you can get better upgrades. But if I was building the A-class, you would want this one. For the simple reason of since it's higher, it's better handling, it's got better speed, and you would be able to build it to A class a little bit better. If you try to build this to B class, you wouldn't be able to get as many upgrades in it, and it might not do as well as you would expect. That being said, it is a fantastic machine, a welcome addition to Forza, especially because it's free. Why anyone would complain about a free car, especially when it's this fun to drive, and looks this good, and is this iconic? I don't know, but I guess not everything can be a Bugatti Chiron. Of course, if you were asking me to choose between a Bugatti Chiron or a Honda Civic Type R around a track, I think I know which one I'd rather choose.